essentially, you're going to hear me say throughout today's talk that there is basically nothing in ASCE 710 that is intended for use with solar. And I want to be clear about that statement. When you get down to the core of it, what's in ASCE 7 is a wind load calculation procedure that starts with the left-hand side of this equation. That's a velocity pressure. This is relevant to your site. How windy is it at the site you're at? And then a coefficient, which says how does your structure deal with the winds when the strong wind is blowing past? What does that turn into in terms of loads on the structure? This first piece, there's no problem with that. This second piece, there really is nothing in there that was intended for use with solar. And that's not unique to solar. There are a lot of structures that are not in ASCE 710. Here's an example. If you were going to design the windows and the viewing platform at the top of the Statue of Liberty, where would you get wind loads on those windows? There's nothing that's clearly intended for that. So you might have to estimate. You might look at some loads that were intended for cladding on a tall tower and then put some uncertainty factor in there. And so that's a theme that's going to come up again as well today, is when you're looking at something that's similar to what you're using but not intended for your design, what kind of uncertainty are you willing to put on it? Now when it comes to flat panels mounted on flat roofs, there really is nothing. There really is nothing that you can take out of there and say, well, here's the uncertainty factor I'm going to use. One thing that we sometimes hear is, well, our system has been on roofs, hundreds of roofs for 5 years now, and we haven't seen failures, so it must be okay. One thing that the code is clear about is the intent, and its intent is that you shouldn't see a failure of any kind in a 700-year event. So lasting for 5 years without appreciable failures is not an indication that you're built to the life safety intent of the code. And when the 1 in 700-year event rolls through, you should start to see the array shuffle on the roof. So when they say they've had no failures, perhaps they mean nothing has piled up like in this image. But maybe something shifted around, and I've talked to people who, sure, it shifted, we put a bit more ballast in and we shifted it back where it was. Well, if it did that in a 60-mile-an-hour wind, it's not staying put in 115-mile-an-hour wind, and that's really the goal.